Welcome back to our series, The Mexican-American War, on History with Herodotus. As Scott's troops emerged from the treacherous mountain passes and began their descent into the Valley of Mexico, they were met with a stunning sight. The sprawling city of Mexico City, surrounded by lakes, canals, and volcanic mountains. The Americans knew that capturing the city would be the key to winning the war, but they also knew it wouldn't be an easy task. On August 20th, 1847, Scott's army clashed with a large Mexican force led by General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna at the Battle of Contreras. The battle was intense and bloody, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. However, the Americans emerged victorious, thanks in part to their superior artillery and tactical discipline. The Mexicans suffered over 1,000 casualties, while the Americans lost around 60 men. The victory at Contreras marked a significant milestone in Scott's campaign, as it cleared the way for his army's advance towards Mexico City. However, the Americans soon found themselves facing another formidable foe, the Mexican defenses at Churubusco. On August 20th, 1847, Scott's troops launched a fierce attack on the Mexican positions, but they were met with fierce resistance. The Mexicans fought bravely, but ultimately, the Americans emerged victorious, capturing the strategic town of Churubusco. As the Americans marched closer to Mexico City, they began to negotiate an armistice with the Mexican government. On August 24th, 1847, Scott and Santa Anna agreed to a temporary ceasefire, which would allow for negotiations to take place. However, the talks ultimately broke down, and the war resumed. The Mexicans, determined to defend their capital, launched a series of fierce attacks on the American positions. On September 8, 1847, the Americans launched a massive assault on the Mexican defenses at Molino del Rey, a strategic mill that controlled access to the city. The battle was intense and bloody, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. However, the Americans emerged victorious, capturing the mill and paving the way for their entry into Mexico City. As the Americans approached the city, they were met with fierce resistance from the Mexican defenders. On September 13, 1847, Scott's troops launched a final assault on the city, capturing the strategic fortress of Chapultepec. The Mexicans fought bravely, but ultimately, the Americans emerged victorious, entering Mexico City on September 14, 1847. The capture of Mexico City marked a decisive victory for the American army, and paved the way for the eventual signing of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. However, the war was not yet over, and Scott's army would have to face continued resistance from Mexican guerrilla fighters. In the aftermath of the battle, Scott's army occupied Mexico City, and the Mexican government was forced to confront the reality of its defeat. The Americans had won a crushing victory, but at great cost. Over 2,000 American soldiers had been killed or wounded in the campaign. As we conclude our exploration of the Mexico City campaign, it is clear that this period was marked by significant challenges and triumphs. The battles at Contreras, Churubusco, Molino del Rey, and Chapultepec all contributed to a dramatic and bloody chapter in the history of the Mexican-American War. That's all for today. Join us next time on History with Herodotus as we continue our series on the Mexican-American War with Episode 9, The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo.